All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the latest edition of Baptized Fire with Brother Martin. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everybody, for your love, for your support, and for your patience, most of all. Because honestly, I'll just be blunt with you guys. Lately, I've been having a lot of issues when it comes to just doing shows in general. I'll be flat out blunt with you guys. It's just been a really, really big challenge for me just to sit down and be patient enough to do a show. And the thing about it is, it's not the fact that I don't want to do my shows, because I do, but it's the fact that I'm going through certain things right now that is that's causing me to really, really struggle when it comes to my confidence. So I just want to say, which I know back in January when I did like my last episode, that I was gonna tell you, hey guys, I'm gonna do it more frequently. I'm gonna be doing the show more often and all that good shit. Which I was planning on doing it, but ultimately I'm just really, really trying to figure out where to go from here. Because I even talked to a few friends of mine. I talked to my friend Mike. I talked to John. I talked to my brother. I talked to a lot of different people. And this is the thing, guys, is it gets to the point sometimes where literally you have a creative block, to where there's a time where like you're putting out content like it's nobody's business, and that you're you're really helping people, you're really inspiring people, and like you're giving them good stuff to listen to. And for me, which I've always been blunt, I've been honest, and I've been truthful with this, and I've been very, very forthcoming, that I will never put out a show just for the sake of putting out a show. I will never put out a show for the sake of, hey, I got to put this out because there is a certain time limit in which this has to be done. When it comes to like my baptized fire shows, I will never do that. And there's some people saying, well, Chris, what about like with your with like your retro wrestling revival stuff? You have no issues whatsoever like with putting content out. Well, the thing about it, guys, is that there's a few things going on there. That being that I have no problem at all just watching wrestling with one of like my best friends, like my brother John. And basically we have fun, we shoot the shit, and basically we're just having fun and just reacting to what we're seeing. That's very easy for me to do, and that's very easy for John to do. Now when it comes to creating more personal content that really makes it to where you're trying to help others, and and you're trying to inspire others to really change what they're doing like within their life to make their lives better, that's a little bit more challenging, especially whenever you got somebody like me who's going through a season right now to where I'm questioning. I'm really questioning a lot of things that are going on, because I have made a few changes within my life recently that which I'm proud of, but ultimately, which it's weird what they say. Like they say that once you seal up one wound, sometimes another wound tears and rips wide open. And ultimately, that's what is happening to me. Oh, hold on. My friend Daniel here. That unless the product is watching his heart garbage and watching wrestling is more difficult. I agree. I agree, brother. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for joining me on Baptized Fire. And the thing, like for me, is that honestly, you guys know that I'm an open book with everything. I've been open, honest, and truthful, like with my struggles. I've been honest, open, and truthful, like well, with things that I've dealt with like within my life, from when it comes to dealing like with my childhood issues to dealing like with being a dad, to like with being a husband, all that stuff. It's just one of those things where um I've been an open book, and sometimes I really, really think that I have it all figured out. And then there's times where I come across it and I think I have it all figured out. And, God kind of taps me on the shoulder saying, "Hey, Chris, that's not the case whatsoever. You don't have this figured out." Because sometimes whenever like we're struggling through certain things and like we subconsciously bury stuff, we tend to use other things as a substitute, so to speak, as a um how do I say this? As a crutch to cover up for previous hurts. So like for me, I which I've been open, I've been honest. Gr- Growing up, for the most part, I had a fantastic childhood. I had great parents that loved me, they cared for me, um, and I had great parents that loved me like they care for me. But I mean, you could be the greatest parents in the world, but there's still times where things could happen that are beyond their control. Because honestly, being a parent, you can't watch your kid 24/7. You got to hope and pray that with wherever you put them or wherever you're at, that they're safe and that and that hopefully the people that you're around, they could be trustworthy. And which unfortunately, growing up, there was a which I've spoken about this before. There was an occurrence when I was younger. I where 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 I went down to go visit um like my grandparents, like with my mom and dad. They had a camper right next to their house. Basically, it was just an added camper that they would go camping with, and it just happened that which it was parked next to the house. And like my grandma and grandpa told me, "Hey, that if you want to go play like your video games, you could go play your games. Just go, you just go in the camper and just go hook it up and go play your game." So there was this one instance where I went into the trailer, which I hooked up like my PlayStation. I was playing it, and my uncle came in, extremely drunk, extremely under the influence, and long story short, he molested me, which I've said this before on my inspired shows, but for the people that don't know, um, he molested me. And I thought for the longest time that I forgave him. Recently, this goes back to the whole thing with coping mechanisms. Okay, whenever children have trauma, th- they use coping mechanisms to deal with that trauma. For me, my coping mechanisms growing up was pornography and pain pills. So I've recently, speaking to the friend of our retro wrestling revival and a friend of mine, Mark Merrill. He's been talking to me about like my struggles with pornography. I have recently gotten to the point to where I'm actually able to really take that issue and really throw it to the ground, and I'm able to defeat it. Now, the unfortunate part about that, guys, is that I use that as a coping mechanism to deal with what happened to me as a kid. And now that that issue is out of the way, now I have to face what happened to me as a kid. And I recently spoke to my wife, and which I was open with her. I was honest with her, and I told her that I'm having a really hard time forgiving forgiving him for what he did, which I thought that I did. I thought that I forgave him, but no, I just kept going back to my coping mechanism, and just thought to myself, okay, well, no big deal. Um, but unfortunately, as I went back to my coping mechanisms, not only did that affect me, but that affected my marriage and that affected my wife greatly. Because, like I said, I've said this a few times, and which will be honest with you, um, and this is going to go out to everybody. There, the only way that sex is okay, And when it comes to lusting and when it comes to objectifying or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to desiring another female, God has made it to where that is only acceptable within the confines of a marriage. And because of my issues growing up, which I dragged that into my marriage, and that caused a lot of issues like within my marriage, all because I refused to acknowledge my traumas, and I refused to get a hold of my issues to get them fixed. So it caused a lot of issues that I really regret that I took so long to fix. I really, really do. So I just want to say this like right now, guys. Like you're thinking to yourself, well, Chris, what if I'm single and what if I got a girlfriend or a boyfriend or this or that? Well, like the God honest truth, guys, I'm gonna be blunt with you. Um, am I going to go around telling you, hey, um, be celibate? No, I'm not going to tell you that because I would be a massive hypocrite. I'm a firm believer that if you're in a committed relationship, that sex is perfectly fine. I really, really do. I think that that's perfectly fine, like within a committed relationship with you and someone else, whether it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, same sex couples, whatever, whether it's your boyfriend with your boyfriend, girlfriend with girlfriend, guy with girl, whatever. You are, which I'm a firm believer that God does bless those relationships that could eventually lead to marriage. Um, but ultimately, if you carry that excess baggage with you that you had beforehand, that could cause a lot of damage. That could cause a lot of issues that will make it to where your spouse will feel like they're not good enough, that they will feel like they're not beautiful and all that. When in fact, myself, I use those coping mechanisms to cover up the fact that I didn't feel beautiful enough, that I didn't feel good enough, and that I felt like there's always something that was always wrong with me. And guys, it's important whenever you have those traumas to really, if possible, tell your parents right away. Tell your partner right away. Something, tell them what's going on because ultimately, whether it's pain pill addiction, pornography addiction, whether it's like a shooting up dope, whatever, it could ultimately lead a path to like a path of destruction that could really, really cause a lot of issues. And like my wife even said to me that ultimately by me letting happen what happened, like um by me not taking control of the situation afterwards, I really am giving my uncle power. Um, and she said that I don't know whether you can forgive him because she says that she would have a very difficult time doing it. But I'm a firm believer that I can ultimately get the strength to do it. I really feel like that once I do that, then that could really help me grow even more as a person. But like I said, whenever you finally get over and you stop using those coping mechanisms to deal with the hurt, that hurt's still going to be there. That's still going to be to where you have to address the hurt. So I'm actually, for the first time in like a long time, I mean, thanks thanks through the encouragement of like my friends, my family, like my wife, Mark Marrow, John, I mean, just and so many other people, I'm actually going to go get true blue therapy. I got to go sit down. I got to get this stuff really, really taken care of because ultimately I'm wanting to fix myself. I want to be the best husband and be the best father that I could be. And me and my wife, we had a really, really hard discussion the other night. Like we were sitting at IHOP, and she said to me, "Do you fully love me with your? Did you love me like with your full heart?" And I answered her, and this is the God's truth, which I told her that I love you with which I love you as much as I possibly can love you. And and with my whole heart, yes, I'm trying with my whole heart, but I have to fix these issues so I can let you have access to 100% of me. And the same goes for my children because ultimately I want them to really, really feel full love from me because ultimately, like my kids know, my kids know that I love them. Like my wife knows that I love her, but she wants me to really let go of the past, let go of the hurt because that's holding us back. Because we've had our issues to the point to where I was thinking to myself, maybe if we divorced, that I would be happier because she wouldn't have to deal with me being such a jackass. And I was thinking maybe she would be happier with somebody else. But the God honest truth, guys, is that I can't imagine my life without her. Despite our issues, I do understand we all have our crosses to bear. We all have our issues to go through, but I can't live without my wife. I can't function without her. I can't function like without my children. And there's some people thinking, "Oh man, you're sticking around because of the kids." No, that's the furthest thing from the truth. I'm not sticking around because of the kids. I'm sticking around because I need my best friend. I need my partner. I need that person that's willing to stick by me no matter what, that has stuck by me no matter what, and that sees my heart like no one else. And so I'm so now that I'm able to control a certain issue, now I am needing to dig deeper. And now I'm going to be going to go to therapy, guys. There's other issues that I'm dealing with, but ultimately that's the one that's really been bothering me lately because I've had a really hard time forgiving myself. I've had a really, really hard time doing that because ultimately, hold on a second. Hold on. Priscilla, do you mind? Hold on, guys. I'm gonna pause this for a second. All right, guys, I'm back. So I just asked my wife permission for something to say because it was honestly, I was thinking about a lot of things that have happened, and like the God honest truth, guys, is once again, I'm not the perfect husband, I'm not the perfect dad, but ultimately, my wife, she can relate to the pain that I went through because ultimately she went through the same thing. Um, and but it wasn't by like a family member. It was there was a night where I was having a bipolar episode. I was having a manic episode, and we were fighting, arguing, and we were going at it like cats and dogs. I mean, like we weren't being physical or nothing like that, but ultimately, which I made my wife feel so uncomfortable that she left the house. And that was me being a complete fucking jackass. And once again, which I've gotten a lot better about that. I've when it when it comes to controlling my bipolar issues. And ultimately, what happened was me and her got into a fight. She left the house to go cool down. Um, and there's a reason why I'm not a big fan of Myrtle Beach, guys, and that's because we are the sex trafficking capital of the United States. When it comes to crime, I think like we're number one for our population size, and plus, when it comes to drugs, it's an extremely unfortunate area where we have a bunch of overdoses, and we have a bunch of dealers and all that kind of crap. It's a sad. This is a sad city, guys. It's a really, really sad. Um, and hate to say this, but me and my wife were arguing, and then she left to go cool off, and then ultimately, um, there was a group of strangers that is, they snatched her, and my wife and my wife was raped. Um, and ultimately, guys, up until recently, I didn't show her fully how much I really cared about what happened because ultimately, yes, I did, but I had the issue not not fully expressing it and keeping it inside because she always thought, "Hey, Chris, like you didn't care about what happened to me," which I did, but I never really fully sat down and talked to her saying, "Hey, I'm sorry. I love you. Please talk to me and let's address this together." And ultimately, right up until what happened recently, like with me getting control of like my porn issue and me having to face what happened to me as a child because I didn't have that coping mechanism no more. I feel with my whole heart terrible about what happened to her because ultimately I held everything inside growing up. I didn't really say anything. I kept it inside. But just because I did that, that doesn't mean that she shouldn't have to. And she felt that pain that I felt. She's gone through that pain that I've gone through. And all that built up trauma, all of like the built up nonsense, all of like the built up just everything that's led to us arguing because of these things. I feel terrible about it. I really, really do. I love my wife to death. And ultimately, now I am really starting to address things that I really need to fix and that I really, really need to work on. And like ultimately, my wife said to me, and this is the God honest truth. I have a great heart and I'm very, very good at giving advice. I'm fantastic at giving advice. I'm fantastic at helping people, working with people, but I'm terrible at taking it. And I'm terrible, which I criticize this younger generation, but I'm gonna be blunt with you, which I'm kind of in the same boat because I hate being criticized. I hate criticism. I hate when people correct me because ultimately, not that I think that I'm right constantly, but I think that I have the right intentions behind what I'm trying to do. So even if it's technically not correct, I feel like the intentions outweigh the logic, whether it's right or wrong. So I've always struggled with that. And just recently, like with me facing those issues, I have decided to be more open, be honest, go to therapy, and I really, really need to recognize that I'm not right all the time and that I really need to be more open and honest, and I need to make my wife feel like, oh, hold on, we got some messages here. Daniel said, "You can do it for your wife and kids, but you got to do it for yourself. Number one, then you can do that. You can give them yourself even more." That's correct. Thank you, Daniel. And then we got Mr. Mike Darban. What's up, brother? Which I pray that all is well with going with you, man. And I just want to say, guys, that I'm really to the point to where I really need to be open. I need to be honest. And things have progressively gotten worse within the past, I'd say, 2 years. I mean, you guys have like fans of Baptized Fire and fans of fans of the Inspired with Christopher show. You've probably noticed within like the past year, 2 years, that I've put out less and less content because honestly, I don't want to be fake. I don't want to be phony. And I don't want to put out just random bullshit with me giving you advice that I'm not taking. So that's ultimately partially why I kind of stepped back on doing a lot of the content because I don't want to come off like a massive hypocrite. Because because like ultimately I'm not, but I'm just someone that struggles, someone that's hurt, and just someone that needs to really recognize that I need to get back into the groove of what makes me me. And my wife even said to me, sweetie, I want you to be the person that I fell in love with, that happy go lucky carefree guy, not the always angry, always uptight guy that just really just has the world on his shoulders, which yes I do, and yes I did sign up for that, and I have no issues with that. But I have a horrible habit uh, of when it comes to my hold on, Mike, Mike, the number one fan of Baptized Fire. Yes, brother, thank you, I appreciate it. Let's groove tonight. Yes, we're gonna be maxing Jackson and relaxing like we're gonna be grooving like it's 1979, my friend. So like the thing about it is like for me, I have a terrible habit of because I love my wife so much that when I'm stressed, I always talk to her, but sometimes I vent and then it comes off like me being a complete dickhead that's attacking her, which I need, which is not her fault. So what I need to do is I need to really calm down, think before I speak, and stop being so aggressive with things because ultimately I am able. God's given me the ability to handle things. God's given me my wife. God's given me my children. God's given me my job. God's given me everything within my life for a reason so I can prosper, so I can grow. And my wife, she's meant to stand beside me. She's not meant to stand behind me, and she's not meant to be walked on either. Uh, Walked on, walked all over, whatever way you want to see it. So, with that said, with me being man enough to admit that I have to work on certain things within my life and fixing certain issues, which I have, I'm going to be blunt with you. I am a very open and honest book. I've said this 1,000 times. You're going to hear it 1,000 times more. But the fact is that when it comes to other individuals, which I'm not going to name names because, quite frankly, they don't deserve to be named. But the fact is, because I have which I have mended fences with certain people that have been that have been extremely derogatory towards me within the past. People that have completely bashed me, people that have completely trashed me, people that have completely spread falsehoods about me, and which I've forgiven them, and like a good portion of them, they have actually reached out to me to apologize. So I am being very, very forgiving of that. Hold on. Oh, good Lord. All right. And, but one thing that I have a hard time of letting go, and most people have common sense when it comes to this, or to where like they won't go public with this. And most people have enough respect for me, even if they have a little bit of respect, they have enough respect and common sense not to bring my family into public forums and not to bring my wife within the public forums. And which I'm going to say this right now to anybody that has any issues with my wife whatsoever, and they want to go public and they want to criticize her, First off, you don't even know her. First off, second off, you don't know what the hell she's going through like within her life. And third off, get some new material because quite frankly, it's sad, it's pathetic. The fact that you're reaching so hard for material because you're not that original and you gotta make fun of my wife, you can go fuck yourself. Because quite frankly, I will me me and her fight, we got our issues. But god damn it, the only one that's gonna call me out is her. And the only one that's gonna call her out is me. And anytime someone wants to pass judgment on her and which they don't even know her, that really pisses me off. Whether it's her accent, what she says, it doesn't fucking matter. You guys don't know her, you don't know her heart, and this is just a nice little way of me warning people. Please stop with the bullshit when it comes to my wife because I don't bring family into it when it comes to other people. Hell, even the times which I did, I was nothing but encouraging for people to focus on what's important when it comes to life, which is God and family. So I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say this nicely, and you know who you are. Please stop. I get it. You don't like me. I get it. You have your issues with me. And I get it that you drink the Kool-Aid and you buy into a lot of misrepresentations of me. When in fact, you have no clue what the hell you're talking about. But when it comes to my wife, please stop. Please back off and at least focus on something that can make your time more valuable because ultimately it's sad that like you're grasping at straws when it comes to criticizing me to where you got to bring my family into it. So I'm saying this nicely. If you want to shit all over me, I don't care because I'm past that point because I'm a grown up. But please stop bringing my wife into this because she's not perfect by no means. None of us are. But it is what it is. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. And I'm going to be open, honest, and truthful. You're never going to see me attacking anybody else's family members publicly. You will never see me do that because I'm not that fucking classless. My advice, focus on bettering your family and focus less on trashing my wife while sitting in an old beat up shed. So yeah. So it is what it is. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna sorry guys. I'm gonna move on. Sorry, I'm stuttering like my butter, baby. You're a good person, man. And that's all they got to attack family member, just like a grown up. Your wife doesn't deserve it, and it's time for people to grow up. That's 1,000% correct, my friend. I agree. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be talking about like a couple things before I end it tonight. And the thing about it is that, like, with so many people out there, we like the one thing that so many of us like we have in common is our love for professional wrestling because ultimately, wrestling is a huge thing that creates community for good and for bad because like ultimately some of the best fans you will ever come across are wrestling fans and literally the worst fans you will ever come across are wrestling fans. So it's either the best or the worst. And now like the thing about it is that for me growing up dealing with the issues that I dealt with from being picked on because of my stutter to like my weight issues to me being like me being molested to so many other things. The two constants that I used to cope with, that's until high school, and then I added pain pills onto it. It was porn and pro wrestling. Okay, those are the two things that I would always go to cope and to escape reality. Fortunately, I'm still stuck on pro wrestling. All right, hold on. Mr. Mike Durban says that he's going to the NWA Crockett Cup tomorrow night, front row, brother. I'm excited. I can't wait for you to go, and I'm stoked because I think the Nick Aldis Zack Ryder match will be an absolute barn burner. But like I was saying, guys, the two things which I used to cope with growing up before high school, it was porn and professional wrestling. Thankfully, like the porn's done with. But like the professional wrestling guys, that's something that I've always had a passion for and that I have always loved because it's something because like with pro wrestling, it's awesome because you have all forms of entertainment. Okay. You have opera, you have a circus, you have a rock show, you have a soap opera, all that stuff, everything wrapped up within one, and which in my opinion, there's no form of live entertainment that does it better when it's done correctly, better than wrestling. And for me, one of the people that was a huge influence for me growing up that made me fall in love with the business even more was watching World Championship Wrestling with my grandfather. And I watched the New World Order. Okay. The NWO storyline, that's what made me fall in love with the business all over again, like with a deep, deep passion. And it was storytelling at its finest. And one of the founders was Scott Hall, better known as Razor Ramon from the World Wrestling Federation, one of the greatest intercontinental champions of all time. For the people out there that don't know about Razor or Scott Hall, the first match that you need to check out, go on the Peacock app, go to WrestleMania 10 and check out the ladder match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, one of the greatest matches in the history of pro wrestling. Check it out. But anyways, let's see. Yeah. Mike, I'm not going to publicly answer that. But yeah, which out of respect. So like which I can't say that. But anyways, and sometimes yes, I agree. Dean, okay. Cardone's gonna be in the Mr. WA. All right. So, like I was saying, guys, like the fact is that when it comes to like wrestling, it was like the storytelling, like the athleticism, every single thing out there, I absolutely loved. And Scott Hall was the guy that completely he helped like with he helped with that storytelling, like with it going along. Okay. So Scott Hall, like, was the founder of the New World Order, which is widely considered the most popular stable in all of wrestling history. Okay. And the New World Order led to the birth of the WWF version of it, which was D-Generation X. And this led to the hottest boom period within wrestling, within like the past literal, like I would say 25, 30 years. Literally, it was like a golden goose that just kept pooping out golden eggs. This era was hot, hot, hot. Like the ratings, like the ratings, like were skyrocketed, everything. And Scott Hall with Kevin Nash, like with Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall and Nash, they were actually the two reasons why, the two people that led to modern wrestlers having those big fancy guaranteed contracts. Because guess what, those were the two guys, whether you like them, whether you hate them, guess what, they fought for those guaranteed contracts, they fought for those pay raises that led to a lot of people making money. And which helped like with the business like with the prospering. New World Order. Yes, I love it. And Dean saying to me, "What's your favorite Scott Hall match?" I would say honestly, like my favorite Scott Hall match. Now, if we are able to talk about the eras, I loved the ladder match between him and Michaels, but also the match from I think it was Royal Rumble '93, I believe, between him and Bret Hart. That was one of my favorites, and plus there was the which I love the War Games match from I believe it was I could be wrong, guys. I'm not 1,000% sure. I would like the War Games match. I think it was from War Games '98. It was or not 97, guys. Just please forgive me, like which I'm not great with dates, but yeah, the War Games match between World Championship Wrestling and like the New World Order, I think it was either 97 or 98, and that was a great match. Plus, I just like the fact is that Scott Hall was actually the first. Okay, people want to give Stone Cold like the credit for being the first cool bad guy, like the first character where you could there were like the shades of gray to where like he does bad things but you cheer for him. But I strongly disagree. Like the first person to do that was Scott Hall. Scott Hall, like the Razor Ramon character, like the guy was so freaking cool, like with the way he carried himself, that literally you couldn't help but cheer for the guy, like the way he carried himself. No offense, but like the modern wrestlers, with very few exceptions, don't have that cool factor. Okay, like Scott Hall did, like Kevin Nash did. And no offense, but Hollywood Hogan looked like a grandpa standing next to these two guys. And I know that Hogan had the name recognition, which really helped the New World Order. But ultimately, that was the New World Order storyline that really helped me fall in love like with the business all over again. And once again, being able like to sit with my grandpa um, and go to his house, sit in like my den and watch World Championship Wrestling with him. That was awesome. The WCW Saturday night shows were some of like my favorite growing up, and then I fell in love with Nitro. And like the cool factor, like with wrestling. Hold on. Would you rather take the Razor's Edge or live next door to Rad Rob, like without curtains? No offense, but I would rather take the Razor's Edge because, quite frankly, that's like the Razor's Edge. That's a pain that I could eventually get over. Now, the pain of seeing the Radical One showing his showing off his birthday suit, that's something that will be seared within to my brain that I will probably need therapy for. So no, like the Razor's Edge, I would gladly take. Um, Scott Hall was the bad guy. Good food, good drinks, and good chicas. I agree. And the thing about it is, so like with Scott Hall, the guy was such a pioneer that helped, like with developing the business to being like the big powerhouse that it became. Um, what I'm getting around to, guys, is that recently Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, one of the greatest wrestlers ever to never become world champion, one of the greatest, coolest guys that will ever step into the ring. He passed away from complications from hip surgery. The man had 3 heart attacks and was still breathing for a short period of time. And then he unfortunately passed away. So, with that said, guys, there's only 3 times within my life that I've cried um, when it came to people that I've never met within wrestling. And I'll be blunt with you. And that is when Scott died, which was recently, when Eddie Guerrero died, and when Ric Flair retired, and with Eddie, no wait, scratch that. Which I which I did meet Eddie, which I take that back, because I met Eddie at a pay per view in 2005, No Way Out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was Eddie and Ray facing the Basham Brothers for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and I actually had passes to go meet John Cena backstage. John wasn't able to do it, and Vicky was backstage, and she saw that I was upset, because we were backstage waiting, and like they informed us that, hey, Cena's not gonna be able to do it. So Eddie was walking by, Vicky noticed, and Vicky um stopped Eddie, and Eddie said to me that, I know that I'm not John, but if you want to sit down and talk to me, we can. So I sat down with him for like a few minutes. It felt like hours. It did. And Eddie wasn't necessarily talking about wrestling. He was talking about the important things within life, um, God, Jesus, all that stuff. And I really, which I wasn't a Christian at the time, but little did I realize that when Mr. Guerrero like was planting the seeds for me to really see things for how truly important they are, like within life. And which he died, it was I think it was 9 months later, in November of 2005. And he was the nicest wrestler that I've ever met. The second was Mick Foley. And the God honest truth is, like with Eddie, I will always be grateful for him taking time out to sit down with me and like to just talk to a kid that was disappointed that Cena, he couldn't do like the meet and greet. So I just want to say, guys, hold on. Mike said that I'd rather take a pile driver from Owen Hart and see the radical one through his way. Oh, Jesus Christ. Amen, brother. Um, Eddie was just something else, truly out of nowhere. And Mike said that he died on my birthday. Speaking of Eddie, which I'm such a big Mark and fan for him, that I got the Latino Heat shirt, which I'm a huge fan of Eddie. I love Eddie to death. I think that he's the greatest Mexican wrestler of all time. With all due respect to Conan, because Conan, he's up there. He's top 5 in my opinion, but I would say that it's Eddie, then Ray, and then like the rest of them is debatable. But yeah, like the fact is that wrestling has had such a huge impact on my life when it comes to helping me cope with my issues, having like a sense of community, and making it to where I didn't make dumb decisions like go through with me killing myself. And like there's times due to my depression that I have attempted suicide on multiple occasions. Um and I've shared this before, but I'm sharing it again. The night that I was going to plan my suicide the first time, I was which I stole like a bunch of like my parents' pain pills, and I was going to go to school that day, which I did. And the guy that's my best friend now, Tim, he came up to me saying, "Hey, Chris, I really feel like there's something going on with you, and which it would really benefit you to come to youth group with me." Little did I realize, but the seeds that were planted the year prior by Eddie was going to start to sprout, because ultimately I would have, which I would have said no to begin with, because which I was an atheist at the time, but I really was thinking, all right, well, let's give this a shot. Plus plus he offered free food. So he's like, we're gonna have chicken wings tonight at the youth group. So I'm like, all right, well, I might not come for like this Jesus thing, but at least when I kill myself, like my stomach will be full. So so I went, and the seeds were starting to be planted and watered even more. So like that night, something talked me out of going forward with shoving my mouth full of pills and killing myself. And literally like a month later, while going to like a youth youth field trip, we went to a place called Fun for All, which was which had like go-karts. It had like the sit down video games, all that stuff. I gave my life to Christ while driving a go-kart, which is pretty cool because God said to me, like, I'm here, so what's stopping you from giving your life to me? So I gave my life to Christ then. But that doesn't mean that I didn't still struggle like with with like my bipolar issues, because I still struggle like with my depression. I still struggle with so many other things, but ultimately God made it to where that I was able to have somebody to go to during those struggles that can give me wisdom to make it through. And which God did that for me all the time, no matter what, whether it was somebody that was making fun of me because of my weight, my stutter, whatever. God always reminded me, hey, don't let them get to you, because I got bigger plans for you, like within your life. And little did I realize, but that led me to meeting my wife, my kids, everything. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And just, and heck, it's crazy because those dark times led me to meeting some of the biggest people within my life that had like the biggest impact. Because the last time that I tried to do the deed, so to speak, I literally, the day after I got out of the nut house, I discovered a podcast with Vince Russo on it. And not only did that help lead me to making my own podcast, but it also was a huge, huge factor in helping me with certain health issues. So it's crazy because I'm a firm believer that God lets bad things happen and lets you reach that breaking point to where you can come across the right people to help you during those dark times. And which I will always be grateful for that. Which I will, because it makes you appreciate it even more. Because yes, I do believe in Jesus. Yes, I do believe in God. But that doesn't mean that I won't struggle with deep dark thoughts. That doesn't mean that I won't be depressed or deal with bipolar episodes. That doesn't mean anything. But I know with the right people within my life, with God having my back, that I can manage and deal with it and get through those dark moments. Hold on. Hold on. Conan is cute. Okay, well, I just want to say something. I do apologize. I did not know that Conan was fully Cuban. I which has sounded like a judgmental jackass. Okay, I will fully correct myself. It, let me rephrase this. Conan is one of the greatest Latino wrestlers of all time. There you go. And Dean says that I met Eddie Eddie at a nightclub. He was the nicest guy ever. Other wrestlers have no time. He stood and talked for 15 minutes. Oh yeah, Dean. When it comes to Eddie, from what I heard years later, he missed a flight to talk to me. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm glad you didn't, man. And you've been a good friend since we met. Oh yeah, Daniel, thank you, brother, because me and you, we uh we uh we met at my work, and we started to bond over wrestling, and that's how we developed our friendship. And we've been friends for like a while now. Um and which our love and passion for pro wrestling, that's led me to meeting all kinds of great people, and that eventually led me to meeting one of like my best friends, John. Whether you love him, whether you hate him, the fact is that you're entitled to your opinion, and but I know John from like a personal aspect because he's been there for me since we started like being friends. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had our ups and we've had our downs, but he's been there for me 99% of the time. So I'm grateful for that. And that led to the birth of the podcasting brand that me and John do have now, which is the Retro Wrestling Revival podcast, which is for fans by fans, and it's a fun which it's a fun escape, guys, because because it's just a fun way like to watch wrestling and share and like just share your thoughts on wrestling, like to watch wrestling, like to have fun. Because honestly, which if it's a success, awesome, but if it's not, so be it. Like we're just there to have fun and just talk wrestling. So I'm grateful for those people like within my life. I really am. And before I go tonight, guys, I'm going to share just something special for you, which I'm going to talk about my daughter for a second. Do you want to hear a joke, Brother Martin? Now, if it's appropriate, then yeah, that's fine. But if it's going to be something that's extremely offensive and very degrading, then I really don't care to hear it. So, but like I was saying, guys, I really, which I'm extremely thankful for, like the people in my life, and which it was hard for me to open up right at the beginning of the show, like with what's what's been going on with me lately, to why I've been kind of radio silent on my shows. I'm going to say this right now that I'm going to make a better effort because this is like therapeutic for me. But thanks to the encouragement of like my wife, John, Mark Marrow, and so many other people, I've chosen to go to therapy because I know the importance of it. So yeah, I really think that that if you guys are struggling with something that you really haven't addressed and that you are using a coping you're using like a coping mechanism to deal with it, then I would encourage you to be open, honest, be truthful, and to say, hey, that I need help, so ask. There's nothing wrong with that. But with that said, guys, before I go, I just want to say this. Thank you for all your love. Thank you for your support. And don't be a stranger. Join us weekly on the Retro Wrestling Revival podcast here on Facebook. We always do a live watch along to Nitro, and that's like the one guaranteed live show per week that we do. This week we're going to be doing it is part one of a Spring Stampede 1997. So I'm excited to see the Diamond Dallas Page Macho match, which I think that's the main event, but part one should be fun. And but anyways, before I go, I something awesome happened the other day. Like my daughter, she turned 9, um, and which I was working on her birthday because I do work a lot. And I had such an awesome time with her. The day after I my boss was was cool enough like to give me the day off, and me and my daughter we decided to go get some pizza. Um, we decided to get some pizza, and we went to go see the movie Sing 2. And while I was sitting there with her, eating, and while I was watching the movie with her, I was just looking at her like with how beautiful she is, and how special she is, and how blessed I am to be a dad. And God kind of spoke to me and said, He said, Christopher, you owe it to this little girl. You owe it to your son, and you owe it to your wife. Get things under control. Get the help you need. Don't let others dictate your path. Let me lay that path before you, and you get the strength to walk down it, because I know ultimately you're meant for bigger and better things within your life with your family by your side. So it's amazing in those moments how God can speak to you to really wake you up. And I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be the best father I can be, and I want to really start taking my own advice more and living by it more, because ultimately I was really, really bad with that. Um, so guys, I love you. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for your support. And which I'm going to try to at least put out a couple shows a month. In no promises. Hold on. Dean said, "What's the difference between Rad Rob and Jeffrey Tubin? Tubin didn't know that anyone was watching." Well, I guess Rad Rob, he can relate to Pee Wee Herman because, or wait, did Pee Wee know that somebody was watching? All right, just kidding, guys. This is all in good fun, which I mean no malice towards anybody. I don't. So, guys, I love you. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for your time. And I just want to say that let's all come together. Let's put our differences to the side. And, which, if anything, let's share our love for professional wrestling, because ultimately that's what brought a lot of us together. And,
don't judge someone unless you know him.
And don't judge someone.
Don't put a bad person. He's not.
Well, regardless, sweetie, people got their opinions of me, people got their opinions of you, and people got their opinions of John. And yeah, I know, but it is what it is. So I just want to say, guys, I love you. Thank you, and have a safe, blessed, joyous, and wonderful night, day, weekend, week, month, whatever it is, whoever it's with, guys. Tell them that you love them, and realize that there's more to life than just sitting on Twitter all day. Like there's more to life than just focusing on the approval of a bunch of strangers. There's God and family. So, all right, guys, I love you. Peace out, and have a good night.